I'm Steph Stolzenbach, a licensed clinical social worker for the past 16 years. Today, we're going to answer your questions about OCD in relationships. So this person says, lately my OCD has convinced me in public that if my boyfriend walks off, he can just vanish. Make that make sense. So this sounds like an intrusive thought, right? Your mind is taking over an ordinary event. In this case, your boyfriend leaving and introducing the irrational fear that he will just disappear, even though you know logically that is not likely. This also falls into the broader concept of magical thinking in OCD. So magical thinking is really the belief that your thoughts or actions can cause real-life consequences, often with no direct logical connection between them. That could be thoughts like, if I don't lock the door 5 times, right, somebody might break in. A celebrity I just was talking about got into a car accident, so I'm sure I had something to do with it, right? This can obviously cause emotional distress, and it can also interfere with regular functioning. In this case, this person might prevent her boyfriend from leaving the house or going anywhere without her, because that fear is that he might disappear. Obviously, something that's going to introduce feelings of paranoia and cause problems in the relationship. In terms of overcoming it, Olivia is already a good amount of the way there. She says, make it make sense. It doesn't make sense, and that's the point, right? Acknowledging the irrationality of these thoughts is the best first step, and from there, a lot of people tend to see further success with things like exposure therapy. I just found out at the doctor's that I have confirmed OCD. So I have ADHD and OCD. Knowing this doesn't affect me, but do I tell people about this, like while I'm dating? This question of when should I tell someone I have OCD can be really challenging while navigating new relationships. You don't want to feel like you have to stroll up to the first date and say, hey, I'm Steph and I have OCD, right? The first thing to ask yourself is, why do I want to share this, right? How is it relevant? How is it helpful? Maybe you're nervous on a date and you're having compulsions that are noticeable to the other person. It could be really helpful to tell your date, right? That way they understand that your compulsions have really nothing to do with your experience with them. And you can focus more on getting to know them better. It doesn't have to be immediate, but you'll likely want to tell anyone that you're in a serious relationship with, so figure out your reason for sharing and take it from there. This person says, y'all, is it OCD if you're certain the guy you're dating is only interested in your money, despite you having no money, and him being blatant in his affirmations? This does seem to hint at the irrational thing that we talked about earlier, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's OCD. This thought could just be influenced by personal insecurities, past experiences. Sometimes when we're unsure about our self-worth, or even have maybe some trust issues, we might interpret or misinterpret a romantic interest words, right? Even when they're positive. It sounds like these doubts haven't been persistent or consistent in other relationships. So if that's the case, it may be more valuable to explore whether there's issues of self-worth happening before jumping into an OCD diagnosis. Is violent behavior a side effect of OCD? The short answer here is no. There is something called harm OCD, which is characterized by aggressive obsessions or unwanted thoughts of violence towards oneself and close ones. Those intrusive questions like, what if I hurt my partner and I don't remember it? Or what if I drove my car off the road right now? Individuals with OCD are usually repulsed by these ideas and have no desire to act on them. The intrusive violent imagery or thoughts are simply a part of the disorder's symptomology, not an indication of an intent to behave violently. Let's move over to Reddit. I find myself deleting and then uploading dating apps over and over again. And then when I have the apps, I can't stop checking my notifications until I get a response. It consumes most of my day seeking validation from these random guys that I may never meet. I'm so tired. So this is a great opportunity to talk about the process of OCD compulsion. The process starts with the intrusive thoughts. So in this case, that could be doubts about self-worth or relationship security. The anxiety that these thoughts trigger can lead to a compulsive need to check dating apps over and over as a way to seek reassurance or mitigate the emotional distress. But because surfing dating apps only provides temporary validation, the brain in OCD doesn't really register the action as complete. So even after that checking, the anxiety remains unalleviated. The repetitive cycle reinforces the OCD pattern, making it really difficult to break without targeted intervention. Today, I had thoughts of wanting to break up with my girlfriend for no particular reason. I just realized that I don't want her, and that's it. But yesterday, I cried thinking about a breakup. I don't get it. In relationship OCD, intrusive thoughts can make you suddenly question your feelings, having urges to break up even when you genuinely care. These intrusive doubts are not reflections of your true desires, but are often the result of anxiety and compulsive thinking patterns. So the intense emotional response, such as, crying over the idea of a breakup, can stem from the distress caused by these OCD-driven thoughts. A good place to start is asking what changed. Yesterday, this person was almost in tears thinking about the idea of a breakup, and yet today feels pretty strong that they don't really want to be with this person anymore. What shifted, what changed from one day to the next? And if you don't think that there's anything specific that you can really pinpoint that might have caused this, it could just be some temporary thoughts and feelings that may decrease on their own. I'd be curious to know if this person has experienced feelings like this before in other relationships or with other partners, or if not, if it might just be more specific to this relationship and this partner. So if this was a pattern, I would recommend treatment to support this person and really uncovering the underlying reasons for that OCD in relationships, that anxiety that's being felt, to think about triggers, patterns, and ways to move forward in a more healthy and appropriate manner. If you connected to any of these examples, whether it's intrusive thoughts, irrational fears, or compulsive behaviors, know that you're not alone and you're not broken. OCD has a way of making our fears feel real, even when they don't align with what we truly want. The good news is that OCD is highly treatable. Recognizing these patterns is the first step, and from there, therapy and mindfulness can help you break the cycle. We have tons of resources available on the website. Just check out the description below. And if you're struggling with OCD or think that you might be, consider scheduling a chat with us at Charlie Health. Thanks again for watching. Please take good care and always be kind to yourself.